Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultra marathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. Welcome back to the One More Hour podcast, an insider's guide to backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra mindset of going one more. I think today's conversation is going to be a lot of fun. Today's guest ran over 1,000 miles in January on the Tempe, Arizona Burrito League segment. If you don't know what Burrito League is, we're going to dive into that, but I am just absolutely fascinated by the entire concept, the challenge itself, and the mindset that goes into running a very short distance for a very long period of time. So welcome, TJ. Thank you so much for joining us today. Also, congratulations on Burrito League. You came in second place in Tempe, correct?
Yep, correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Burrito League did not start on January 1st like we thought it was going to, right? Or at least thought Chipotle would start. So you actually ran about 1,200 miles in January.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I ran because I was at Across the Years. I didn't race there, but I just like did some for fun miles, just sharing laps with people. And then I did
Yeah,
a for fun 100 miler. It was just unofficial. I just did it with some buddies in San Diego. So
I love it.
I had like 150 some miles going into Burrito League and then did like 1,070 at Burrito League. So it added up to about 1,200 that month. So yeah.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. So I want to get into backyard ultras first before we
Yeah.
talk more about Burrito League. But since we've
Yes.
touched on Burrito League, can you explain to those who aren't familiar, what is Burrito League?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a running movement, if you will. And it started in Tempe, Arizona. So that was the one that I went to. And I'm based out of Vegas right now, so it's, like a
Okay.
5 hour drive. So relatively convenient to get to for me. So that's why decided to go to Tempe. And it
Mm-hmm.
was there's like point 0.2 miles about each way. So you go point 0.2 miles out, point 0.2 miles back. And like that's the segment. You just basically just do that as many times as you can. And it was in the middle of downtown Tempe, Arizona. So like ours was like in the city, so like there was extra elements there. We had to cross a road like every time you like did the segment. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of what it was. And then it turned into like this movement where, you know, all across the world and all across the country that people were popping up little segments, so it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun to see. Okay, what city is going to be next? And then some days there were like 10 that were adding it at the same time. It was just, I don't know, you couldn't keep up with it. I started following everyone that was running in Arizona at the beginning, and then all these additional cities were joining each day. And it's like, wow, I cannot stay on top of this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was too focused on my own thing. I was had no capacity for like understanding like how big it was outside of Tempe, to be honest. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
to reflect on.
Yeah, all your energy really needed to go into running what you were doing.
It's crazy.
So, so let's dive into who, can you tell our audience, who are you? What do you do for work? Where do you live? I know you mentioned you're in Las Vegas right now. Um,
Yep.
just give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in northern Minnesota, and then I went to college at the University of Minnesota and studied sports management. Go Gophers! And so I graduated college in 2023, and since then I've been kind of living more of the nomad dirtbag lifestyle, and I've done some stints in Colorado, Oregon, Alaska, North Dakota. I'm in Vegas right now, kind of just like beat bopping around doing random odds and ends jobs from trail work to working at ski resorts to working in oil and gas. Right now I'm just like have a random gig with a buddy. Yeah, lots of like travel and moving around a lot and doing personal stuff and travel on top of that. So kind of very much in my nomad era of life, if you will. So yeah, that's kind of who I am and what I've been up to. So yeah.
What area of Minnesota did you grow up in? Because I'm
I'm
in
from
Minnesota.
yeah. No, that's yeah. I knew that. So I'm from Cloquet, Minnesota, which is right next to
Oh,
Duluth.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yep. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's where I grew up. I spent my whole childhood there. So, and then I went to Minneapolis, obviously, for college. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, my cough is coming from I'm allergic to snow mold. And we've had
Yeah.
warmer weather and it's all melting and it's just awful right now. So let's dive into ultra running.
hmm
How did you get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ran a little bit in high school. So I guess, got introduced to running in general was when I was about 15. I was a sophomore in high school, and I was involved with sports and decided I didn't want to do football anymore. So the only other two sports were cross country and soccer, and I was not good at soccer. So I was like, I guess it's cross country, and running around in the woods kind of sounds fun, and it was. So that's kind of how I got introduced to running. Was a very, mediocre runner in high school, but it was something fun. And then in college, I was on off with it. And then I got back into running and kind of discovered more trail running. And ultra running when I went to Colorado my first summer after college, and I was doing trail work in Colorado. So was already getting into a lot of hiking and backpacking kind of stuff. And then you get to Colorado and hiking along the trails and there's people like running up these mountains and you're like, what the heck? But it was kind of cool. So that's kind of what got me into trail running. And also I'd done dealt with a lot of injuries on roads. I just like thought I wasn't like meant I was interested in like my first marathon was like a really big deal for me because I thought for like many years that I just my legs weren't built to run that far. And then doing like some trail stuff in Colorado, like I just didn't have the same injuries that I, did when I would run on road. So that summer I did my first marathon, which was, like a cool, super cool experience for me. And I just remember like I didn't finish it in any sort of blistering fast time or anything, but just like the act of completing it, it was like, gave me a lot of confidence. And I was like, I feel like I made a bigger deal about that than maybe it was. Like, I think I could go further. And then it kind of the curiosity piece of like, oh, how far can I go? So I think 4 weeks or 5 weeks after my first marathon, I did my first 50K. And then 2 weeks after that, it was just a 1 mile loop, but that was my first 100 was just on a 1 mile loop. And I signed up for that actually right after I finished my first marathon. So I finished it and I was already kind of thinking about this race and I was like, it obviously terrified me. I was like, I wasn't even confident I could do a marathon. So 100 was just like, absurd. But right when I finished that marathon and I was kind of riding that like high, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna sign up for it because then I'm financially invested and I at least have to try it. Yeah, so then I did that. It was kind of terrible, but I finished it, and that it definitely that scared me like of that distance. I was like, I don't know if I would like want to do something like that again. But then like the marathons and 50Ks and even 50 milers, like those felt like very comfortable for me for a while. And then fast forward to this past summer in 2025, and um, I met a friend and he was interested in doing his first 100 and I was kind of talking him into it. And so then naturally through talking him into it, it kind of was like got me thinking about it again. And I was like, I guess that maybe I'd give that another shot. And then we went to go sign up, we found another race just because a lot of the hundreds in Colorado were already like filled, we're looking in June for 100 milers that summer. Like a lot of them are already filled up in Colorado. So you can't like just sign up last minute and also just they're cheaper. So we just found a looped race in Colorado and we were going to do the 100 together. And then when I was signing up, I saw there was a 200 and I was like, oh, that's like the 100 I felt confident about because I had done it. And I was like, I felt like I learned a lot and I was like, I can, I was confident I could finish it. But then the 200, I was like, I just remember I just felt this feeling of fear when I like looked at it and I was like, okay, I gotta try it, So I did that. It actually went like super well. Like that was like way more of a positive experience than my first 100 was. Then since then I've volunteered at 200-mile races. Like I was at Moab a lot this year volunteering, even gotten to pace people some sections and just like met a lot more people in like this 200 plus world. And then got interested in the backyards, did my first couple backyards. You just got to experience like that. yeah, all of that is just kind of like giving me confidence to now like explore more. Like I'm just interested in like all the distances now, and it's like no distance, and not in like a cocky way, but it doesn't like trying it doesn't scare me. Like maybe I like can't do something, but like I can go try these things, and even like I'm gonna be crew pacing someone at Arizona Monster 300 this year, and like I thought about just like signing up for it like last minute, especially after Burrito League. It's just like that like mileage doesn't like scare me anymore. It's just like not that it's going to be easy or pretty, but it's just like, so that's kind of where I feel like I'm right now in my running journey of like very exciting to get to explore, get to explore the backyards more that I've done a couple and like maybe trying to go further in those. And then just, like when I was at Across the Years, like they have the 6 day race. And I remember when I was there, like I was there, that was 2 months ago, and I was looking at that. I was like, oh, like this is like really cool. I would like to do one of these at some point. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
I love that. I love that you went from thinking about a 100 miler to seeing that there was a 200 miler and feeling that fear, but also curiosity of like, I think I need to do this. And
Yeah.
I think that draws us to different parts of ultra running, right? And
Hmm.
also to the backyard ultra of, okay, I could sign up for a 100 miler and run 100 miles, but what if I could go so much further than that? What does that
Yeah.
feel like? What does that involve? And I think that's one of my favorite things about the backyard ultra is you are not limited to a distance as long as there's someone else out there that's going to run with you, and as long as
Right.
you continue to come in within that hour. So as you think about races, and you mentioned the distance does not scare you,
Hmm.
what are you looking to get out of each of these experiences? Like, what are you, I don't want to say chasing, but what do you want to learn about yourself?
Yeah, 100%. I think what initially drew me into it, and there's still definitely an element of that, is the curiosity of like, yeah, like where are my limits, if you will, or just like finding like how far can you go. So I think that's kind of, and that still is like a draw for me, and but that is it was the initial draw of like chasing these longer distances, like because in my brain before it was just like, oh, like I'm content with just like running a marathon, and not that it's like just a marathon,
Right.
but it's like that was like at that moment, like I wasn't interested, or I don't even know if I really knew that there were distances longer than that. So once I did that, and obviously I could, work on like making my marathon time faster, but it's just like, okay, like can I go further? Like I feel like I'm more interested in going further.
Yeah.
So I think that's what drew me in, and what still kind of does appeal me to some of these, and even those, yeah, like those longer 6 day races, like, oh, how far can I go in this? Or like a backyard, especially, it's like, okay, there's no predetermined anything. It's just
Yeah.
like if there's someone that's gonna run with you, like you're either gonna win the race, or you're gonna like fail, not fail, but like quit.
Hmm.
Like your race is gonna end. You're gonna find your limits.
Right.
So I think that is like a super cool concept. But I think so that draws me in, and I think what's kind of kept me running, and the reason I do it again and again and again is just like what I think it brings to me personally. I think I've like found a lot of like meaning through doing these like longer things, and especially just like the challenges you go through. I think like for me personally, like, and I think everyone, you just have like these hard things that you've gone through in life, and sometimes you're like, obviously there's other ways you can work through them too, but doing these longer races and like going through some of those tougher moments, and just getting to interact with myself in that way. It just like these other things in life that maybe like feel like burdens. I feel like they can like help me in situations like that, like where they do make me a bit tougher. And I don't know if that's really the way I'd want to describe it, but really just like give me perspective, like during those longer races of like, we're just running. This is really
Yeah.
hard, but it's like, it's not, compared to other things in life, it's not like that serious. And
Yes.
I feel like I
Yes.
can use that as fuel to drive me to go longer and go further in these races. I mean, I just think there's like so much value and meaning in like all of my races. Like, those are the moments. It obviously I want to push myself and go further and do all of that, but it's like those moments that I have with myself, and sometimes get to share with other people. It's just like that's the good stuff. Like that's why I continue to do these. That's what I'm getting out of this. And then in addition, just like the community aspect of it, getting to meet other people, like sometimes share those tough miles, or just like the boring miles or whatever with like other people. And I think
Hmm.
also that goes back to backyards and timed races where you're like kind of together all the time, like you're starting together every
Yep.
hour in a backyard, whether there's no, that person's in like a longer trail race, the first place person, you might never see them. So you see them at the start and then they're gone. But these like,
Yep.
shorter loop races, you guys are together the whole time and you guys get to interact a lot. And I think I've built a lot of, super powerful relationships through that. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So let's talk more about your backyard experience.
Yes.
Your first backyard ultra was capped at 24 hours, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And then the following weekend, you signed up and you did the last Cowboy Backyard Ultra and you went for 38 yards, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, what was your experience like that first weekend?
Yeah, I had been curious. I think I first heard about backyards sometime last summer, and yeah, it was getting more into ultra running, and that was when I signed up and did my first 200, and thinking about yeah, I don't know, just getting more into ultra running, and so like when I learned about like the backyard concept, I was like, oh, that's like a super cool concept. Like it's not about speed necessarily, it's not about whatever. I mean, even yeah, once you get to 100 miles, like you still have to do a sub 2400. It's not like that's slow by any means. But it's like, you look at these, like some of these hundreds or whatever, like people are running them like super duper fast. It's like you don't need to run super
Hmm.
duper fast. You got to like maintain a pace for sure, but it's not like an insanely fast pace. In the beginning, it's like a very
Yeah.
manageable pace. I think most people can do 1 yard. So
Hmm.
it's just like it's just kind of cool. It's like how far are you going to go before you tap out, if you will, and that concept like really appealed to me. And I had kind of talked to some people that had done them before, and like was just kind of learning from them. And it's just like, all right, whenever I get a chance, like I want to like experience one of these. So I was out volunteering at Moab, and in Salt Lake, like right after Moab was done, there was one in Salt Lake, and I was like, well, I'm already in Utah. Me and a buddy were looking at that one, and we just decided to do it. Well, he got hurt, so he ended up crewing me, so that worked out but even better for me because then I had a person
Yes.
to crew me. But so then, yeah, I got to experience like that backyard format, and that was like my first time going under 24 hours and 102. So that was like kind of a cool way to do
Awesome.
that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just cool to experience like the backyard format. I had like done some like longer loop races, so it like felt familiar in that way. But then like the biggest thing for me is like I really suck at night and was like kind of convinced that I like just can't move fast at night. But the backyard format is like, all right, you have to maintain a certain pace. So
Hmm.
that one, I still do struggle and did struggle that night. But like, I got through it like, and I was like, okay, like there was never a point during that where I was like, every time I went into a yard, I was like, okay, I know I can finish this yard. I was like, I don't know about 5 more yards from now, but I know I can finish this yard. So, and I will say the one thing about that one that there was a cap, I think that added a different element of like mentally, because once we got past like the halfway point, it felt like there was like a countdown.
Yep.
So that definitely differed as I've done backyard since, where it's like not having that predetermined end has been like a little bit of like a little bit tough for me mentally. So that
Hmm.
was like one, I think, crutch I leaned on a little bit in that one, where I was like, oh, I know this has like an end point. But just getting to experience like that and like, and different strategies for lap time and having to maintain that certain pace is like, it was good practice for me. And then that's why I did the one the weekend after, was like, I don't know, I'd never done back-to-back races like that. And it was like a little bit like weird, but I was like, and I didn't sign up for the Last Cowboy until like a couple days before because
Oh,
I
wow.
wanted to do the one. I knew I wanted to do the one in Salt Lake and at least make sure I could get to like the 24 yards. And then so
Yep.
once I did that and it went well, and then I like felt physically enough to like turn around to do it again, I really wanted to experience like, okay, let's do this without the cap. Like let's do
Hmm.
this, without that, because that's like a true backyard of like not knowing when the finish is going to be. So then, yeah, that was why I did it that way. And just like what was around me, there wasn't a lot of like backyards. Like there's not a ton of backyards in Colorado, which I think is interesting because Colorado is
Hmm.
like kind of like this, you know, big ultra running place, and like I don't know, there's only like two backyards there that I can like think of, and they just didn't work
Yeah.
out in my schedule. So they just worked out in my schedule, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. So yeah.
Yeah. So what first weekend, 24 hours, signed up a few days before the last cowboy.
Mhm.
What did you learn that first weekend that helped you really prepare for, okay, this is what I want to do for my pacing or during the nights? Like, what did you take with you into that second weekend?
I think for the night, I took a little bit of confidence and a little bit more of like when I struggle at night and start to like have some of like those excuses and maybe like my confidence gets shaky, it's like, okay, you've done this before. So like having that like a little bit of experience of like, oh, I've ran through a night at like this pace before. Like I've done this basically this exact thing.
Yep.
So that confidence was really nice for me as I like started to struggle. Like I always struggle at nights, but knowing that I was like, okay, you've done this before, you can
Hmm.
do this again. So that was really helpful. And then yeah, my lap times, like that first one, I was like, and part of it was social, it was just like the people I was like hanging out with. But I was doing like really
Yep.
slow laps. Like my average lap time was probably like 55 minutes. And that wasn't necessarily because I was like
Okay.
struggling and couldn't go faster. It was just like that's kind of like what I went
Yep.
with. And then going into the last
Yep.
cowboy, I was like, I'm still not exactly sure what my lap time strategy should be, but I'm just going to try something else for the sake of trying something else. I
Hmm.
did feel like that a little bit more time would have been helpful. So my strategy at Last Cowboy was basically shooting for 50s, and
Okay.
almost all of my yards were within 49 to 51. So like that was
Okay.
my strategy for Cowboy for lap times. And then just nutrition wise, that's always like a work in progress. So, but getting to experience like the nutrition within the context of like a backyard format was like, okay, this is what I'm going to carry with me, and this is what I'm going to eat when I get back. And
Hmm.
then maybe my stomach goes to hell, and this is my plan B, and whatever. Which is kind of similar to normal race, but also, within the
Yeah.
context of a backyard, everything's, I don't know. I break up everything in every race by the hour, so like the backyard being just in that hourly format is just works for my brain very well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I definitely
Did
feel
the
like
race
it
have
helped.
did the race have an aid station for you, or was this completely self-supported for?
It was all self-supported. They had their electrolyte drink and everything
Okay.
else was self-supported, which I'm like connected. They're called Ultraverse, and I'm like connected with them pretty well. So like I kind of knew what the vibe was gonna be.
Yeah.
Like the day before the race, they like let us set up. So like I had my like full setup, like everything like ready the day before. But yeah, it was all the nutrition and stuff was on our own.
Okay. Did you have a crew for this race?
I did not. I had someone,
Okay.
there was a gal that I met at Moab who happened to be doing that race. So she ran
Okay.
and did like 13 or 14 yards. And then after
Hmm.
she dropped, she actually like crewed me through that first night. So that was like really awesome, especially like through the night.
Yes.
So I
Hmm.
had crew for like probably like 8 or 9 yards,
Okay.
but like the majority of, and then there was some people towards the end there were when there's a couple of us left and like a lot of people were kind of like spectating, there were some people that like helped me
Hmm.
a little bit, but it was like mostly uncrewed.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's fun about the format of the backyard. When someone is done running, when they step in and they help crewing others, I think that's, it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to be done
Hmm.
running and then stay and watch the end of the race and help out. And I just love that part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was super cool and like I appreciate it a lot, and like that's also part of the
Hmm.
reason why I like try to go to some of these races and just hang out or volunteer so then, because sometimes when I'm racing I don't have much to give to other people. I'm just focused on myself.
Yes.
And I do
Hmm.
appreciate when other people are able to give to me in those moments, and it's very appreciated, even just the little teeny things. So yeah,
Yes.
it's nice to be able to give back also. So
Hmm.
yes.
So, what in the last cowboy was there anything that you struggled with? You got through that first night. How was nutrition? Was your stomach okay? What were kind of those low points for you?
Yes, it was nutrition and everything was great. The first I didn't really like probably start struggling too much until like the 100K mark. I mean, there's obviously like you're
Okay.
not 10 out of 10, but like I was, fine, and spent a lot of that first day just like chatting away with people. Like I think I'm like pretty, I'm not exactly the most social person day to day, but like I feel like whatever reason, like when I'm racing or running, like I just like
Yes.
that's just like my element, you know? And it's like, oh, like these
Yep.
are cool people that are doing this thing. I want to meet them. So that whole first day, I was like
Yep.
pretty much like blabbing like partially into the night, and then like eventually I just started like struggling too much. I get a little nonverbal at night. But like I got through the night, and I was actually happy with how I got through the night. I like really didn't use any caffeine or anything like that. I wasn't able to sleep. That's something I've like struggled with the backyard is like getting myself restless. I can't really sleep. So that was frustrating. Nutrition and everything was mostly fine. I did throw up once, but I would think it was I forgot to I was eating gels every lap, and I forgot to eat my gel. I forgot to bring it with me on that yard. So then I tried to take it really
Mhm.
fat. Like I just tried to eat too, I think I ate too much at once or something, and then I threw up a
Yeah.
little bit. But it was like a small, and I rebounded quick, so that like wasn't too big of a deal. Yeah, oddly enough, usually when I have my biggest mental lows, it's like, at 2 a.m., like in the middle of the night. But
Yeah.
this one, I like got through the night, and it was like a struggle, but I was fine. And then like right when we hit like the 100-mile mark, like around then, and we're like the sun's rising for day two, like I just like had gotten this really negative bad headspace, and that lasted for like 6 7, like most of like the daylight, which was like kind of annoying because usually that's like when I thrive. So that
Hmm.
was like my biggest like mental low of that. And that was partially, I think I went into the race, like to be completely honest, like a little bit like arrogant. And I was like, oh, this is like a random backyard in like the middle of Nebraska. Like nobody's gonna be there. Like I was like, there's no way this race is gonna be more than like 130 miles or maybe like 150. I was like, I was like very confident that I was gonna win, to be honest, which is like embarrassing to like say, but that's like the truth of it. And like when we got to like mile 100, there was a dude who dropped like a 33-minute yard just so he could get a
Oh
nap,
gosh.
and was just fresh as a daisy. And I was like, oh God. I was like, this isn't gonna end anytime soon. And like, yeah, there's only a couple of
Hmm.
us left, but like, as everyone knows, like it only takes two people and that backyard will go
Yep.
as long as those two people are gonna go. So it's like this guy's in it. And so I think that was part of it. And then just like I think I tend to I mean, something I'm like trying to get a better grasp on, but like I tend to spiral pretty quick and pretty easily and pretty like hard. And I think I just kind of like
Yeah.
let myself spiral. And then like once I like got to that negative space, it was just like, this is it. So I just remember like reaching that 100-mile mark point and like not caring at all. Like usually I'm like a little bit proud to hit certain landmarks. Like I genuinely like didn't care that I like hit 100 miles. Like I didn't feel any bit proud or any bit happy about it. I was just like too busy like dealing with my own stuff that I was like, I don't care. And I just kind of like got in like a weird mental place for yeah, most of
Hmm.
that second day. So that was annoying.
So that's common. Like I've heard that many times before.
Hmm.
What are some things that you're trying to do in your daily life or in daily training to help you kind of work through that feeling of being like, okay, I'm experiencing this right now, but that's okay. It's not actually my reality, or this is going to be a short term thing. Like I just need to ride that wave and push through. Like, what are some things that you're doing to try to help yourself with that?
Yeah, I think understanding and trying to like develop like that neutral mentality and like the this too shall pass like motto I think helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like understanding that, all it is ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And I mean like a lot of that is just the reality of life. Like
Yeah.
you have these
Mm-hmm.
same things happen like in normal life. And they're just like happening at like bigger extremes during like an ultra, like I don't know, like your emotions are out of whack, like you're doing something like way out of your norm and like very extreme. So
Yep.
it's like instead of like maybe your ups and downs being here, like whatever that looks like for you normally, it's like your ups and downs are like here. So it's like just
Mm-hmm.
understanding um the reality of that, and like yeah, it sucks like when you're in a low and like sometimes you feel like it's never going to end or never going to get better, but just like
Yep.
understanding that It probably will over time. You
Hmm.
might, yeah, and sometimes it is like 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever. Like it's a long, uncomfortable amount of time, and just trying to manifest that patience as much as I can. So I think that's something that for me, it's just like trying to practice that more, yeah, in my day-to-day life and like just like understanding. Because I think if I do like a 50K or like a 100K or something like that, that's like a long like day
Hmm.
effort. Like I won't
Yeah.
experience that because like running just brings me joy and like running is like
Yep.
whatever. But like when you're doing something that's like multiple days, it's like, okay, I think about like my normal like 2, 3 days. Like rarely am I gonna go like 2, 3 days without like having like a moment in there, like a time period where I'm like,
Right.
not always feeling the best mentally, and it's like natural. So it's like, yeah, when it happens during a race, it's like, okay, this is happening, but it just sometimes it feels different during a race. Obviously, you're just like
Yes.
you just get a lot more emotional and like it just feels like a bigger
Hmm.
deal. So it's like, but just trying to understand. And I think for me, like experiencing that more helps and just experiencing, I don't know, I think that's just like I even though I've experienced it a lot of times and seen it with other people, it's just like so insane to me when you like find people like doing whatever hard thing and they're like in this just disgusting low, whether it be mentally, physically, all the above, and you're like, oh man, like this is, it just logically seems like it's not going to get better, like it's only going to get worse. And
Right.
then like maybe see them 5 hours later, 12 miles later, and like they're doing okay or they're doing great. And it's just like, I don't know,
Hmm.
that constantly amazes me. And I think, yeah, it's just like trying to understand that it probably,
Yeah.
will pass and will be okay. And I think for me,
Hmm.
sometimes it's just like also like the last backyard I dealt with that a lot, and like I just like called friends, and just like, lean just like as you would kind of in normal life. It's just like sometimes
Yep.
it's okay to just like you don't need to avoid it, like the whole duration of like you're doing something long like that, like it's not always going to be like rainbows and sunshines, and like not that you need to
Hmm.
suffer the entire time. Like that mindset is can be unhealthy, I think, but like
Yeah.
understand like it's okay, and it's okay to talk about it with other people. Like it's okay to address it a little bit. You don't need to just
Hmm.
like try to like, oh, I'm in a shitty mood for a couple hours, like I need to avoid that. Like it's okay to like lean
Yep.
into it a little bit, and then you know let it kind of work itself out naturally.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about Burrito League because I
Yeah.
like. Were you like, okay? I need to put myself into this position more. Like I need to experience these lows for an entire month. Like how did Burrito League come to be for you?
Yes. Okay. So after my last so I did a backyard at the end of November. It went like really
Hmm.
bad, to be honest. And it was like for
Was that
me, it
Summit?
was, yeah, the Summit Backyard Ultra. Yeah. So I did that
Okay.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the month after Cowboy. And um like, I mean, yeah, based on like the results, it was like, yeah, I think I did like 33 yards. So you're like, oh, like that's not like,
Okay.
it's still like okay result, but like just the way that race felt for me was like just awful. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of like just made me pause a little bit, and like the fall kind of like left me with like some like physical, I wouldn't call them injuries, but things to deal with. And then also just like
Yep.
mentally, since like I did have some like really interesting, weird lows. Like I just wanted to like reset. And like for me, my number one goal, and like when I first got, especially when I got into trail running, like, I've had my ons and offs with running, but when I got into trail running and ultra running, is like my number one goal is fun. And like I never want to lose that. So like I felt like I was starting to lose that, and I was like, okay, I need to like pause. And like, yes, there's always going to be more races, and like, right now, like in the Southwest for the winter, and like there's a ton of races in Arizona, and there's been some around Vegas, and there's always races, and like I'm always looking at the race calendar, like, ooh, this one looks, I want to do all of them, obviously, but it's like, okay, let's take a pause and one, take the time to like let my body recoup and like deal with some of that, and then also like
Hmm.
mentally like reestablishing my relationship with running and like making sure that it's something like that is fun and that I enjoy, because that's just the most
Yeah.
important thing for me. And
Yeah.
so that's why when I went to Across the Years, and that's why I didn't race there. I just went there and hung out, and it was freaking awesome. And it was great. And then like the 100 I did in San Diego, like I don't know, that was like a little bit of an asterisk to my rule, and I like kind of like I don't know, I like lawyered myself. If you will, I was like, what's up, Like I said I wouldn't. I was like I said I wouldn't race. I was like it was like just, like I was really glad I did that. Like it was just like unofficial 100. No belt buckle, no nothing. Like just purely for the love of running and like getting to spend time with
Hmm.
each other. And it was like I was very glad that I did that. And we did it like
Yeah.
since it wasn't a race, like our time didn't matter. So like we were just
Right.
it was just fun.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is something different, about doing like signing up for a 100 miler or a 200 miler
Hmm.
compared to going out with a couple buddies and going on this grand adventure. Even though it
Yes.
is a significant difference, in terms of the way that it fills your cup and just like reaches your soul, like there can be a significant difference between those two.
Yeah. 100%. So yeah, that was the reason that I did that. And then so I had just gotten back, like so I went from across the years, did that, and then was just getting back to Vegas to like start my work week. And I was like super tired because I hung out a lot across like it was fun, but I didn't sleep that much
Yeah.
because I was just
Yeah.
like it was just fun, and I was just like loved sharing like those 2 a.m. laps with other people that were like maybe struggling and like getting to help other people. Like it was just really fun to be there. Like, seeing 70, 80-year olds, like there's a 90-year-old like doing 100 miles, like Ann Trayson was doing 100
Wow.
like in her walker. Like it was just super cool, but I maybe wasn't taking the
Yes.
best care of myself. And then I went and did that 100 after, and so then like I missed out on some more sleep, so I was like really tired and like really looking forward to just like getting to catch up on some sleep that next week. So I got back to Vegas that morning, did my work day, and then that night is when I like saw Burrito League on Instagram. And I saw those in Tempe, and I saw some of the people there, like I already knew, like I met some of them at Moab and met some of them at across the years. So like I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I like they're just like a fun like group of people, and I was just like, oh, like they're all gonna be there, like it'd be kind of fun to just like go check it out. And then also like the aspect of like the competition like seemed really appealing, and I was just like, I don't know, it'd be kind of interesting to see like maybe what I could do. So I talked about it.
Yeah.
So my like boss, I'm also living with him right now. He's kind of a friend, and I was like talking to him about it because he doesn't like he's very flexible. Where it's just like, oh yeah, go have fun. Like come here to work whenever you want to work, but like go have fun. So I was like kind of telling him
Hmm.
about it, and he was just like, no, like you got to do this. And so he was like super supportive and like kind of like in like a loving way, like kicked me out of the door, is like, get your ass in Tempe, like go try this for a couple days. If you don't like it, like come back.
Hmm.
And but like at least go try it. He's like, like because he kind of asked me, he's like, do you think you would regret not doing it? And I was like, maybe. He's like, all right, well, you gotta go do it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I went down there, and yeah, so that was kind of like the buildup of like getting into Burrito League and then like starting it. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That support from your boss is incredible. Like, keep your boss forever. Like, you're not going to find that anywhere
no,
else. Wow.
yeah, no, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, for context, I met him at that first backyard that I did. That was where we met, and that's how I
Okay.
ended up working in Vegas for the winter. So it's just
Okay.
like, just the situation, like, yeah, it just like really worked out. And I was like, yeah, like I'm very grateful for that because I'm like, oh, in any other context of, from a work standpoint, it's like I would have to like quit my job to like do something like Burrito League. So, hence
Right. Yeah.
the unemployment league memes from your voice Scott Trick's account. They were valid.
Yes. So true.
Yeah.
So, thinking about how did you wrap your mind around Burrito League? Like, were you just going to go off of what everyone else is running, or did you kind of have an idea of I want to do 50 miles a day, or how did you
Yeah.
approach it at the beginning?
A complete guessing game is the short answer. Like diving
Hmm.
into that a little bit deeper, like a little bit was based on like what other people were doing, and a little
Yeah.
bit of it was just like based off of like what I thought I could do. I'm like going into it, I
Hmm.
was like I didn't expect to be doing more than like a marathon ish PK distance a day. Like I was like, oh, like I'm never gonna need to do more than that. And then it very
Yeah.
quickly. So the first day I didn't get there till noon because had to drive. So I did a
Hmm.
50K that day and I just did it over like 8 hours, mostly like walking and like on fresh legs, that's like relatively like chill. And
Yeah.
then like so I didn't really have a plan for the next day, but then Troy did I think it was 80 miles the first day in the first
Yeah, he did
24
eight.
hours. Yeah, so it was like, all right. And I wasn't necessarily trying to like hang with him because it was like, I'm not going to be able to like move the next day if I do 80 miles. But it was like, all right. And I feel like that kind of like set the standard. And but then there was other people, like I did a 50K and there were other people that did like 35. And I think even someone who did like 40 the first day. And I was like, all right. So then the second day, I did, I think it was like 43 and like that felt like hard but like okay, and then
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it was just kind of like also like math. So I was looking at like the mile mark from like day one, and I was like, okay, if I were to hit 1,000 miles, I need to get about 40 a day. And I somewhere like day one, day two, that was kind of like when I like figured that I was like, okay, so then like for me it's like okay, 40 became somewhat of a standard and like something that I wanted to hit. So then I was kind of like hitting in like the 40s, and I was like, I just felt like okay with that. Like the first week, it was like kind of tough because it's such a long thing. It's like, okay, if I do like stay
Mm-hmm.
here the whole time, I'm gonna be out here for 26 days. And it's like even though it's like day four, and you're like, I think by day five I'd hit like mile 200, and it was just like there's still so much time left that is like every day I like, especially in those early days, I felt like I could do like a lot more. Like I wasn't emptying out the tank, obviously, because you don't want to, but it's like, okay, like how much should I be doing? Because even, it's 26 days, even if you do just one more mile every day, that's the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like kind of like that back and forth of like how much time should I be and energy should I be dedicating to getting more miles in, to like how much time should I be like rest and recovery. And like that whole time was like a constant battle, but especially that first week was just like, I don't know, I've never done anything like this before. So it was just, yeah, constant like whatever. And then going into like I felt good with the 40s for a little bit. And then there were 2 days, I think on day like 7 and day 8 or something like that. I like ramped it up from like getting in the 40s to like I'm gonna try to get into the 50s. And so then I did a 56 and then a 56. And then after that, that was like the beginning of like some pretty serious leg issues for me. So that was kind of like what brought me down to then I kind of hung around like in the 40s for like most of it
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, and then also part of it was just like, okay, if even if I know I can spend this amount of time here every day, like I know I can spend 12 or 14 hours like out here moving every day. And sometimes it was just dictated by like the pace in which I could move that day, especially once I started to struggle more of like most of it I
Yeah.
didn't run, and I like most of it I like couldn't run. Like in some of it like I had like my trekking poles out and I was working really hard to like get 22-minute miles, and not like 22-minute miles like on like a trail or like a mountain. Like this is like a flat sidewalk, like me
Mm-hmm.
gimping along doing 22-minute miles, like, is like very slow. It's just like, within the context of some days and I was moving slow like that is like, okay, I can be out here all day for like 14 hours, but like I'm still gonna try to get some sleep and throw in some eating and stuff in there. So it's like I'm gonna be out here for this amount of time, and like however many miles I get is how many miles. And then
Yeah.
so it's kind of a mix of comparison with other people, like in the context of like the standings. Like if you wanted to like get a certain place, like yeah, it's a competition. You have to like do more than other people. And then yeah,
Yep.
based on how I was feeling and just how it progressed overall. Yeah.
So a couple questions there. My first question is, so you got to a certain point where your body did start, you were starting to feel the pain.
Hmm.
Do you think that was because you were on pavement for so long, or do you think it was because you were only on pavement and you were putting in such large volume? Like, what do you think was part of that factor?
I think all the above. I think the pavement and this was like common because like most of the people there were, trail runner, ultra runners. There's like a lot of trail
Yes.
people
Yeah.
getting put in the city on a sidewalk. We're all kind of
Mm-hmm.
out of our element. But just speaking for myself,
Yep.
like I definitely know the pavement beat me up because like I'm like, I don't know. I will go out of my way to like not run on pavement like in my day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
life. So like I really
Yeah.
don't like interact with it that much like when I run.
Yep.
So I know
Yep.
that I'm like pretty sensitive to it and like also like don't train on it. So I know that was a big part of
Yeah.
it. And then also, yeah, the big miles. And that was like definitely like it was just like a reckless element of it, to be honest. Like I've only done like a handful of like 100-mile weeks like in my training
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Yeah.
The only 200-mile week I ever hit was when I did my 200-mile race. And, Burrito League, I did three back to back to back 300-mile weeks. So it's just like, there is like a level of like, um, stupidity, quite frankly, like to that. Like, that's like,
Mm-hmm.
um not a good idea, like that. So I like it's like that is obviously gonna like lead to issues, and then you add to like the pavement and everything else to it. So it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if there was like maybe a training point and like build up for that, but like this was a spontaneous thing, so there was no like training. And
Right.
also I was in like as I mentioned before, of like kind of a chiller phase of my running where I wasn't even training for like anything. And my volume was like
Yep.
really low. So going from like really low volume to like insane volume like that is just like, really not a good idea, to be honest. And so that was part of it. And then another little part of it too, but still relevant, was just like the shoes I was wearing. Like I'm a trail runner, so I have trail shoes, and
Yep.
I have one pair of road shoes, which is like I randomly got those like a couple months ago. Like not thinking I would use them that much, and like thankfully I don't know how that worked out, but like thankfully I at least had one pair of road shoes, but I was still trying to like use different shoes every day. And that's just like one of
Yeah.
my strategies, is like not using the same pair of shoes for like hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Mm-hmm.
But so when I'd cycle out of those road shoes, I was using trail shoes, and like I didn't feel comfortably financially like investing in like a ton of like road shoes just for
Mm-hmm.
this.
Right.
But also
Yeah.
that like using trail shoes on pavement, especially for that amount of miles, is like not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
all that
Yeah. And it's
combined, yeah.
right. And it's not like there's a patch of grass where on the boulevard that you could run on. Like it's straight pavement. So that makes it even more difficult, right? Especially for all of the runners who, yes, they're primarily trail runners, not doing a lot of running on pavement. And then you take on this challenge where that's the only option.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in Tempe specifically, like we were running on like brick. Like it was
Oh, yeah.
and it was really, I don't know how old the sidewalk is, or maybe it's just been a while since it was redone, but it wasn't like smooth. Like sometimes asphalt can like be like smooth. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't smooth at all. Like it was like,
Yeah, it has
there
that
were like,
texture like cobblestone, like bricks.
yeah, exactly. And like the bricks themselves, like there were
Mm-hmm.
parts like where there were bricks missing, or there's like something like you that like, no one like got hurt per
Yeah.
se, but it's like you kind of have to like watch your step a little bit. And also it was like a little bit
Mm-hmm.
uneven, like it wasn't just smooth and flat. So like I think over the
Yeah.
course of time like that, like in those early days I didn't notice that at all. And then like as it progressed, I was like, oh, this is like kind of a messed up surface we're walking on. Like as your legs got more sensitive to, you just like would notice like those little things
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh, we're kind of walking on like a little bit of like an angle right now. Like this isn't smooth at all. So sometimes in the real early
Yeah.
mornings, I would go out and walk like on the road when there was less traffic, because it was like
Okay.
smooth
Yeah.
asphalt on the road. But it was so busy during the day since we're in a city, you couldn't do that. So that was like another
Mm-hmm.
element of like the surface that we were walking on was, yeah, it was in addition to
Yeah.
being like a hard surface, it was also like a very like uneven and kind of like rugged surface, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
pleasant to walk on, especially when my legs were
No.
not feeling good.
So since you did reach a point where it's like, okay, I don't know if I can actually run today, so I'm going to walk. Or running is painful, my legs are hurting. You have to rely on mindset, right? To get you out the door, to
Hmm.
start. How did you talk yourself through that? Like how did you I know one of your reels on Instagram, you mentioned about trying to improve on staying present and not worrying about tomorrow or not worrying about a week from now. How did you kind of talk to yourself about like, okay, this is what we're doing this month. We just need to get started. We need to work through the day. How were you talking to yourself?
Yeah, I think it looked different at different points. Like in the beginning, like trying to comprehend like the 26 days was like what? You know? It's
Yeah.
like just like I like couldn't comprehend it, to be honest.
Hmm.
And like so yeah, I was just trying to like take it day by day as much as possible. Like naturally your thoughts are gonna like leak. But I think like the biggest way that I like stayed present, to be honest, was like other people. Like there was like a group of us out there that were out there all the time. And then also like people that like popped in, like, some of us were out there like all day. And then there's
Hmm.
like the morning people, some that people that like do their lunch runs, and then like the evenings were kind of popular, so you'd have like new faces there. But throughout like the course of it, like when I had like the social energy was just like trying to like make it normal and like
Yeah.
just kind of like shoot the shit with people and hang out. We're just like trying to disassociate from like what we're doing. Oh, we're just like on a morning walk. Like, forget about the weirdness that we're just walking the same section over and over. Like forget about that. Like our legs are freaking dead. Forget
Hmm.
about that and just like hang out. So I think there was like a lot of like value to that, and I think there was like a lot of cool bonds shared through that, and like some people that I got really
Yeah.
close to. And like obviously sometimes there was like the element of like also, and sometimes it was like just like, and we did this every day of just like laughing at the stupidity of like what we were doing. It's just like this is like. We'd be like just like walking, like whatever, and be like, this is so dumb. Like this is so stupid, and like being able to like share that with other people is just like, yeah, like it is. So I think like that helped a lot, was just like having other people to share that experience with, and then even just like locals that would come at it during different parts of the day that you like kind of like looked forward to seeing and could chat with or whatever.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, just from like an individual standpoint, because obviously, you can only disassociate for so long. There's just those points where you're just
Yeah.
like, oh man, like I can't do this. And then I don't know, as I like, because I was trying to do, and like, I don't know, not that there's like a perfect like strategy or like way to plan yourself, but it's like, I think there was a level of like, thinking ahead and like, okay,
Hmm.
like what am I gonna do today? And if I do this today, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, and like kind of thinking a couple of days ahead and like making a plan. And I think that last week I stressed that about a lot because I was like, oh man, if things stay close, like what's the final push gonna look like? So I just kind of stressed
Right.
about that, but I was like, I did feel like I didn't want to dwell on it too much, but I did feel like there was a level of like, you know, thinking about that and thinking about some sort of plan and strategy for leading up to some of those moments. So
Hmm.
like I would kind of like let myself think about it and like have some ideas. And then when I started feeling overwhelming, it was just like, okay, that's when like my time frame kind of shortened. It's like, okay, we're just getting through today.
Yeah.
And sometimes today is too much to think about. And like we're just getting through until lunch. We're just like getting through till the next break. It's noon right now. At 12:30 we can take a break, so we're just gonna get through the next 30 minutes. Sometimes it's just getting through the next segment, and sometimes it's just getting to the road
Hmm.
crossing, and sometimes it's just like literally
Yeah.
getting through each step. And like, okay, we can do this step and this step and this step. So, as it gets harder to
Hmm.
like comprehend like any sort of amount of time, it's like, okay, let's shorten that amount of time, and that is easier to comprehend. So
Yeah,
that was,
absolutely. Were
yeah.
there were there any moments where you needed to lean on others to say like, "Hey, I need some help right now. I'm not doing well. I want to get through this. Like this is what I want to do, but mentally I cannot wrap my head around continuing."
Yeah, I think maybe not that exact like specific conversation, but like very similar to it
Hmm.
of like, I think a lot of times we were checking on each other and someone would like come up to
Yeah.
you and like, how you doing? And they're like, not good, dude. And I think there were like moments like that where like people did like kind of spew out some like good stuff, and it was like, gave me confidence of
Hmm.
like it's okay. Or even like, I don't know, there was like this one gal, like we only did it a couple times, but it was just like, all right, um, if you need a hug, just ask, and like, there's a couple
Yeah.
like low moments where it's just like, I need a hug, So,
Yes. Yeah.
just like stuff like that. And a lot of times we were kind of going through the same things. So, you'd kind of like be all like in your head about it and then talk to someone else. And it's like, not that it makes it like better for either of you, but it's like you like share that,
Right.
and like, yeah, me too. And not that it's
Yep.
solving any issues, but it's like, you're like at least like not alone in that. So I think there was
Yes.
like a lot of power to that. And I think similar conversations like that were had a lot on day-to-day basis. And then even just from like
Hmm.
a broader help standpoint, like there were like so many nice people out there that would even just like come out and like share conversation. Like there was like this one lady that came out one day, and like I was just like chatting, or like I was just walking and like probably like I don't know, I'm not always the best at like holding in my struggles, so like probably like pretty
Hmm.
like looked pretty discomfortable, like or uncomfortable, and she just like went up to me and was like, "Hey, like, do you mind if I walk with you?" So there was like a lot of that that happened, and then people that are like I'm going to this, like I'm going to Chick-fil-A or whatever, like, what do you want? Or like I'm going to this grocery
Yeah.
store, like, what do you need? Like stuff like that. Like, oh, do you need your laundry done? Like stuff like there's so many different people that did like so many different favors like that. Like at the beginning, like charging my phone was an issue, so like there was like someone that like because there was a couple of us that were just staying in the parking lots. So like we were just camped out in the parking lots. So there were just some logistical challenges with that. And she's just like,
Right.
oh yeah, like I have a house, like I'll just bring it and charge it. But it's like a little thing, but like it went very far. And like obviously like
Hmm.
bringing food and stuff like that, or just even like sharing a conversation or giving a hug. Like there were so many, so
Yeah.
many, so many like things like that that happened, and like don't wouldn't have gotten through that like on my own. Like
Hmm.
is like a very like I'm grateful to like have had that and like got that support. Like
Yeah.
it definitely was a huge part of like me day to day continuing. So yeah.
Yeah. The smallest acts, right? Like a
Hmm.
conversation, walking with
Yeah.
you, doing your laundry, charging your phone, grabbing some food for you. But in an event like this, it's everything. Like
Yeah.
it's magnified, right? And
Absolutely.
I think that just speaks to part of the community of ultra running, but then also we have to have support as well. So
Hmm.
to have these community members supporting something that they're like, why are you running back and forth on this block every
Yeah.
day, all day? To have that support from them is incredible.
Yeah, it was. And like on that note too, it was interesting how much of them like I don't know, like as I was doing it, I was like and even sometimes still and I reflect on it, I was like, I don't even know if that was like a cool thing to do. It was kind of just like dumb. And like but some like they just like so many people they're like, "Oh, I wish I like didn't have a job." Like I think they just like admired like the freedom that I had to like be able to like do something like
Yeah.
this. And
Hmm.
they're just like, "Eh, man, if I didn't have my job, I would be out here all day, just like you guys." Like they just like thought it was like so cool, and I was just like, I don't know, it was cool because they just like had a lot more like energy about it than like I had the capacity to carry about it. So yeah, it was cool.
Uh-huh.
In addition to like
Yeah.
all the help that they brought to you, they just like brought really good energy and really good like vibes. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
What did Burrito League teach you about yourself that you didn't know prior to taking on this challenge?
I think.
Or what did it maybe highlight that you maybe did know?
Yeah, I think um I mean I highlighted that I'm stubborn for sure. Like there were definitely I don't know, even hindsight like now, like I haven't gone on a run since then. That was like over a month ago. So that like the state I'm
Hmm.
in physically now, I'm like maybe I shouldn't have pushed so hard physically. But like and yeah, that was like a new thing. It's like so I don't know, just like the ability to like um put things into perspective like throughout that whole thing like it was a very challenging thing like both physically and mentally like the day-to-day grind of like even just like being out there and like walking like keeping yourself entertained like not going crazy like that was like a hard part of it and like obviously like all that comes physically with like putting in those miles and like it wasn't easy but like throughout the whole
Yeah.
time like I felt confident in my ability to like mentally to do it physically I wasn't like sure if I could like there were a lot of days like from like day 8 day 9 where I was just like ooh I don't know like what my breaking point is but I feel like I'm getting close
Hmm.
And but like mentally, I feel like it just reiterated like, yeah, my ability to put perspective. And I remember I just kept reminding myself like during it and during the hard moments of like, this isn't like no matter how hard this isn't going to be like the hardest month that I've like experienced in my life, like not even close.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like those other things. Like there's just like other things that you go through in life that are like a lot more serious. So it's
Hmm.
just like I just feel like that's something that like I feel like I do all right at is just like putting those things into perspective. Like, well, I'm like doing something, kind of silly like
Yeah.
Burrito League, like
Hmm.
understanding like it is silly and like it's not like that important, like obviously I put my whole heart and soul into it, but it's just like understanding is like
Hmm.
there's a lot the real challenge is in life are not this.
Yeah.
So it's just like I think it kind of reiterated that. I will say like from like a physical standpoint, it did like was like I don't know. I've always like thought about doing like long things like this, or like you see people like set the long FKTs or like the
Hmm.
AT and like some of these like longer trails, and they'll like be running them doing like 50 miles a day for like these long periods of times. And it's like I always looked at those and like thought they were really cool and like maybe would want to try something like that. And this was like
Yeah.
gave me like kind of confidence and like a little bit of a blueprint of like like I guess maybe like I actually can physically do some of those things. And it was cool because I
Hmm.
got to experience excuse me, and like maybe I did push too much physically, and maybe I like shouldn't have pushed myself that hard. But it did teach me like there were so many moments, like literally from day 8, day 9, like pretty much the rest on, where like I would be finished with a day, and like you know I didn't sleep very well, since like a lot of times I was just like in my car, like is wincing in pain, like and like and then getting up the next morning, and like freaking like hobbling, like
Yeah.
not being able to like move like really at all, and then being able to do 40 miles that day, and like was it pretty? Like no, but it's like just did it, and then you do it again and again and again,
Hmm.
and it was just like I don't know, it was kind of cool to experience that, because as I said, I am like growing more like confidence, and some of those like longer distances like don't necessarily like scare me per se, but like on the
Yeah.
physical end, like sometimes there is like limits that your body hits, and it was just kind of cool to push those a little bit and gain a little bit of confidence
Yeah.
there, and even like just certain things that I was like feeling physically, and then it was just like
Hmm.
not necessarily like recommending that everyone should push through those things, but it was like interesting to push through them and be like, oh, like,
Yep.
if I would have stopped when like I thought my legs were done, that was probably at like, 350 miles. And I did like
Hmm.
over 700 miles like after that. So that part was kind of cool, I think.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, I guess right now you mentioned that you haven't ran since you finished on the 31st. What are
hmm
you working through physically and maybe mentally in terms of burnout, in terms of injury recovery? How are you working through that right now in order to continue on in 2026 for your next adventure?
Yeah. Physically, the biggest thing like during Burrito League and like what is stopping me right now is like my left shin. And like everyone got like some
Okay.
version of like shin splints out there, um,
Yeah.
due to the mileage, due to the pavement.
Hmm.
And but so I don't know, for me, like yeah, it was just my left shin, and that's kind of like after day 8 or day 9, I think yeah, after day 8, I think I probably ran maybe 10 total miles like in Burrito League after that. It was like all walking after that.
Wow.
And like that was due to my shin pain, and like some days I had to like bring out trekking poles just to like feel a little bit of like really, so that was like mostly
Hmm.
like what I'm referring to of like when I was like pushing through things, it was like mostly that shin.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I don't have great health insurance right now, so I like can't go to the doctor for it, but I think it might be like a stress fracture. So
Okay.
that is kind of like what I've been dealing with. Either way, long story short, like um it's just been like that's been like a nagging pain since Burrito League. Like I've done like some walking stuff and like
Hmm.
really easy hiking, and like my
Yeah.
job right now is like on my feet quite a bit. even just doing that, like it kind of flares up a lot, like just day to day. So I'm like, okay, if it's
Hmm.
like flaring up just standing too long or like walking, like I know I definitely shouldn't go on runs. But
Yeah.
then going to the mental aspect of it, like that's definitely been like a hard part. Like the last month has been like pretty tough mentally because like I love running and it's like something that I
Hmm.
like, rely on a lot mentally. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of like sucked to be honest to like not be able to do that, which, was due to like the things that I did in January. So and like how hard I pushed during Burrito League, which I knew during Burrito League, I like knew this was like a possibility, but now I'm like experiencing it, I'm like, dang, like I don't
Yeah.
know like if it was worth it to be honest, because there's like some things like in March that I wanted to do like a lot of fun run adventure type stuff that I'm like probably
Okay.
not going to be able to do because like I'm like
Yeah.
injured right now and like even when I start going again, it's like I can't go from 0 to 100. It's got to be like a slow build back up.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then like I think in that first week too, there was like a big mental adjustment of like I think a lot of it wasn't necessarily like I did not miss the segment at all. Like I never want to go back there again. But like it was like missing the people and the vibe and the culture that like was became on segment. And that last day was like
Yeah.
super like special and magical to be honest. And then like leaving like those people that you had like seen and spent like so many hours with for like 26 days.
Hmm.
And then like
Yeah.
um some were locals or whatever, but then like especially of us that like came from out of state to go do that, it's like all right,
Hmm.
we're like all right, like see ya. So that was like a little bit of a bummer too. Which I've like stayed in touch with some of them, so like that's like nice, but it's like it was
Hmm.
almost like that was like a little like summer camp or something that we were in for like a little from like a
Yeah.
social aspect, and then it was like all right, summer camp's over, we all got to go home back to our normal lives. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big swing to go from over 1,000 miles
Mhm.
and spending the majority of your day, like you're either sleeping or you're out there on the segment with other
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
to no running and none of those runners in your daily life. That's a big swing.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's definitely been like tough to navigate through, to be honest, which is
Hmm.
like makes sense.
Yeah.
Like definitely like, um, I think ties along as part of like this experience. There's
Hmm.
like the during and then there's like the aftermath too. So it's like, it's all kind of, tied
Yeah.
together.
Do you think that Burrito League has helped you with being a little bit more neutral and working through those low areas for future races when you're kind of in those low points and just being able to stay with that feeling for a longer period of time to get out of that feeling?
Yeah, I think it's still like definitely a work in progress. Like I was not like the most
Hmm.
graceful at Burrito League, to be honest. So like it is like something that I do need to like continue to work on. I think I was like
Hmm.
better at like the this too shall pass, like an understanding.
Yeah.
I think from like mentally, I think there were some improvements there, like when I had mental lows. But I guess like the way I describe it is like there's like mental lows and there's like physical lows, at least for me, and sometimes they happen
Hmm.
together. But
Yep.
so I think when I was having mental lows, I was like pretty good at like working through that, to be honest. And a lot of like the mental health holes from like lows from Burrito League like came from like Burrito League specific things of like that
Yeah.
duration, being in the city, like crossing that daggum road. And like, like there's a very overwhelming environment to be in. So I think that like caused a lot of my mental lows. But when I was having like my normal mental lows, if you will, I think I actually like did make a lot of improvement in like working through those. And then like yeah, from like the physical standpoint, it was interesting. Yeah, just like navigating through those navigating through those certain lows and then like also just like I don't know, I think very common like basic thing, but like one thing I kind of sucked at during times in Burrito League was like eating. And it was just like sometimes like and this is like one thing I kind of learned from Troy who ended up like winning and done a lot of other amazing things. His answer to everything is like eat, which I
Yeah.
thought was like anything like whatever, like you're feeling this, you're feeling this, you're like eat. So it's kind of like an interesting thing to like I don't know, add to my toolbox, if you will, of like maybe it doesn't work, like it's not always going to work, but it's like, well, you can always probably use more food if your stomach like is up for it, if your stomach can take it. So,
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
definitely, if nothing else, at least like learned, added some things to my toolbox, both like from dealing with the mental lows and dealing with like the physical lows. And then just like perspective as well. Like now, like I did get to like sleep every night at Burrito League, but just like the duration of the thing is like a whole like now even like there's I don't know if I'll do any this year, but now like when I'm looking at some like the 6 day races, I'm like obviously that's like more intense in a shorter period of time, but I'm like the period of time doesn't really phase me at all. Like 6 days is like, oh, that's manageable, you know? So not
Yeah.
to like downplay
Yeah.
it, but like it's just the perspective of it is like, all right, if I got through
Hmm.
26, I think I can get through like, all right, yeah, if I got through 26, I think I can get through six. It'll be different,
Absolutely.
obviously, but like,
Yep.
so yeah, I think there was some mental leaps there, hopefully. Yeah.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for runners who are hesitant to sign up for a backyard ultra or a timed event or some event where it is a looped course or an out and back short duration, whether they're held back mentally or physically, if they can do it or not?
Yeah, if it comes down to like if you can do it or not, I think those are like the most friendly environments to try. Like that's how I've like
Mm-hmm.
did my first 100, done my first 200, like done back like I've done a lot of those and I think it's like the best environment to like try doing something. And I think
Yeah.
like one, like if you haven't like experienced the community before, like the community is like super awesome and super uplifting and like there will be
Mm-hmm.
no judgment regardless of like how little you do or whatever. It's a very positive environment. If there's a fear of judgment there, like I don't think there's much of that in the ultra community. I think rather the
Right.
opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a friendly environment. Like it's logistically like very easy because obviously if you can have support out there, like it's great, but you don't need like necessarily, especially for like the timed loop races, you don't really need any like crew per se. And like a lot of people do
Mm-hmm.
them usually without crew.
Yep.
Backyard obviously maybe be a little bit more helpful since have that finite amount of time that you have to adhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then also like from the cost standpoint, those races are a lot cheaper. So I think like
Yeah.
there's that to be said too. But I think like as a whole, like, I mean, I think they're worth trying. I think most people can do at least a yard and probably like a handful of yards in a backyard. And then
Mm-hmm.
even taking it to like a normal timed event, there's no DNFing a timed event. Like even if you came
Yep.
in and did this timed event and had a goal and you only get half of that, it's like there's no shame in that. There's no like that was just your personal goal and you didn't hit it and it's just like it's not like you don't get to finish the race or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just yeah, just a super friendly way to go about that and I think it's
Yeah.
worth trying for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that answer. I love it.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up today, I have one other question that I've been asking
Hmm.
everyone.
Yeah.
And this can go, it can be completely realistic or ridiculous, whatever way you want to go. We
Hmm.
didn't talk a lot about what specifically you were eating during
Yeah.
Burrito League, but also during your races.
Hmm.
But if you could fuel with only one source for the duration of a backyard ultra, what would it be?
Yeah, I like that. I like that question. I've been getting more nudie into or nerdy into like the nutrition like aspect recently and like trying
Uh
different
huh.
things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love talking about stuff like that. Think from like a serious answer. It's hard. I fluctuate back and forth, but like when my stomach goes to hell, I like can't eat anything. I
Mm-hmm.
usually I mix. I go solid food, and when my stomach goes to hell, I go to liquid.
Okay.
But like if I just like had to pick one, I would probably just pick liquid because then I know I can at least get some calories in, even though it's not like
Yeah.
as great as like solid food. But like I just like deal with so many like stomach issues usually that I'm like I would probably just go with like some liquid calories, like a high carb, electrolyte drink or something like that.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my serious answer. I think my goofy answer would probably be just like candy, honestly. Just like I don't know, like ice
But also
cream.
very realistic for
Y-
ultras.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess my super unrealistic answer for me would be ice cream. That would totally mess up my
Ice
stomach, and
cream.
I would never have it. But like, I love ice cream day to day, and if I could just like, have like, I love like Ben and Jerry's. Like, if I could just be walking, doing like a yard, and just like, on my walk sections, be doing some ice
Yeah.
cream, like that would be pretty sweet.
What are your favorite flavors?
Jeez. We could have a whole nother
All of them?
podcast about this. I think, yeah, anything with like, the chocolatey, like fudge flavors like are good, like
Yeah.
brownie batter's good. I think I like mint, so like they have the mint one that's good. They have the
Hmm.
ones that like they're like called topped, and they have like a layer of like chocolate or whatever on the top, and then they also
Oh
have the
yeah.
ones that are core with like
Yep.
stuff in the middle. Like I really like those ones. If I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with half baked because it's got cookies and it's got brownies. So that's probably
Oh
my
wow.
favorite.
I
But
didn't know
that's
about
that's
that one.
oh
That
that
sounds
one's
really good.
yeah, half baked is good. They knew what they were doing with that one.
Oh, TJ, this was such a fun conversation. Thank you so much just
Yeah,
for
thank
sharing
you.
everything about your experience with the backyard, but also with Burrito League.
Hmm.
I, I think it's just absolutely incredible with what everyone accomplished in January.
Hmm.
But again, congratulations to you on taking second for the men in Tempe.
Hmm.
Over 1,000 miles, absolutely incredible. What did you win? You got some burritos and some shoes, right?
Yeah, so we got second was a half year supply of burritos, which they just gave
Okay.
us like a Visa card with money on it, which is better for me anyways, because you can use it on
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
I got two pairs of Mount Deco shoes. I got a free entry into Sedona Canyons 125, but I'm probably not gonna run that. I'm probably gonna take the race credit
Hmm.
instead. So it's like I think like $600 in Aeroviper race credit.
Okay.
Like yeah, that was like and then we got some socks as well, which is like I don't know. I love socks. So
Yeah.
it's always good to have more socks, especially when you're beating them up all the time. So
Right, right.
yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you tell everyone how to follow your journey?
Yeah, so I post some stuff on Instagram. So my handle is Harms-Synkiew, which is just my last names together. So that's like
Hmm.
predominantly where I post, and then I also just created a Substack, which I just put it on. I just did my Burrito League write up, so you can look at that, and then I'll probably be
Awesome.
posting some other run stuff on there too. And then I haven't posted it yet, but I'll be making a website pretty soon. But I'll put that link that to my Instagram, and my Substack's also on my Instagram. Yeah, I just throw everyone to my
Awesome.
Instagram. Harms-Synkiew is where all my stuff is. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, I will make sure I include all of those in the show notes so they'll
yes,
be available for all of our listeners. I love all of your Instagram videos that you share. I just
yeah.
love
Thank you.
hearing like what you're working through in the moment.
Yeah,
I just think those are so valuable.
yeah. I don't know.
It's so real and relatable.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I try to be as real as possible and like especially try to emphasize like some of like my negative feelings. Like I just think
Hmm.
like sometimes some of the stuff that's like posted like makes like ultra running look easy and I just think that's silly
Yeah.
because it's not for anybody and
Yeah.
it's just like you're not going to be able to like I think these are hard things like worth doing, but like they are like hard things and
Right.
you are going to have low moments. So it's like
Yeah.
no one's doing this with ease, no matter what their social media looks like. So I try to post some real
Right.
stuff. Because I hope
Yeah.
people find it relatable.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It is very relatable. Yep.
yeah,
Well, thank you again, TJ, so much.
yeah. Of course.
If you are listening to this and you're wondering whether you like belong in the backyard ultra world, if you like are thinking, should I do a timed event? Should I do some FKT or some longer duration event? Remember that you don't have to have it all figured out. Like you can just jump into something, right? And you don't have to be running a certain pace or mileage or have to identify as a picture perfect ultra runner. So until next time, just please go 1 more mile, 1 more hour, or 1 more step, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to 1 More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard, and share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going 1 more. Connect with me on Instagram at the 1 More Hour podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go 1 more hour.